Hello everyone and welcome to a most incredible game that just finished from round 4 of this year's Titles Tuesday, not this week's Title Tuesday. It is Rudik Makarian. He's an international master originally from Georgia, represented Russia until some 2023. Now he represents FIDE, and it's the first time we are covering a game by him on the channel, but he does have a very nice victory over Anish Giri in classical chess. In 2023 in Qatar Masters, he defeated Anish Giri in round 5. And here he does, well, something also very, very incredible. It's not that, okay, you beat Magnus in a blitz game, it's a 3-minute blitz game, 3+1. It's not, you know, Magnus does lose to other people at this time format, but it's in a way which Magnus loses that is incredible here. That it involves a tactic, and I would say no one other than maybe Hikaru and a couple of other top guys can see tactics the way Magnus does. But here he misses this one, and Rudik played it pretty much instantly. So let's check it out and let's see, if you haven't seen this game, can you spot the tactic that took down possibly the greatest chess player of all time, Magnus Carlsen. So let's check it out. Rudik with white opens with pawn to d4. We have knight to f6, pawn to c4, pawn to e6, knight to f3, and the d5. So the standard Queen's Gambit declined. And Rudik, I don't know if it's Rudik or Rudik, I'm guessing it's Rudik, goes g3. He opts for the Catalan opening, and there are many ways to meet the Catalan. We see bishop e7 often, d captures on c5 very often, even bishop to b4 check very often. Pawn to c5 also can be played. There are many moves here, but Magnus plays pawn to g6, which is the 8th most popular continuation against the Catalan. And in top-level chess, pretty much no one plays it other than Niels Grandelius. I found that he employs it quite often and with good success, so maybe something that Magnus perhaps picked up. We have bishop to g2, bishop to g7, castles, and queen to c2. Nicely developing the queen, so nothing out of the ordinary happening here, and the knight to a6. And up until this point, those are all of the moves that I've found that Niels Grandelius uses in his games when playing this variation. Rook to d1, and now pawn to b6. And here there are a couple of games where knight to c3 was played, especially in those ones against Grandelius. I think Matthias Blubaum played knight c3 against Grandelius, and Grandelius defeated him. But here we have bishop to g5, and it is now as of move 9 that we have a completely new game. And it's also knight c3 and bishop to g5, the top 2 recommendations from the engine. So let's see how the game continues now in uncharted waters. Magnus goes bishop to b7. Of course, you want to counter the strong Catalan bishop. C captures on d5 opens up the c file. We have e captures by Magnus and knight to c3. We have rook to e8 and rook 8 to c1. We have pawn to h6 and bishop to f4. Okay, so putting a lot of pressure on that c7 pawn. We have queen to e7 by Magnus and pawn to a3, preparing pawn to b4 as you should in every game. And now Magnus could throw in a knight e4, which is definitely a good idea, but also, you know, if you don't want to calculate what happens, if the position opens up, will this be a problem? You can just play pawn to c5 like Magnus did. You can't really play rook c8, even though it kind of makes sense because knight b5 goes after the undefended pawn, then you have to move it back, and then okay, the pawn will definitely fall. So that's the idea. So Magnus strikes with pawn to c5. We have bishop to e5, strengthening and also opposing the strong dark square bishop. Rook 8 to d8. Also, maybe interesting would be rook 8 to c8, aligning the rook nicely with the queen. But then the queen can just move out of the way, and again, not that great for black. So rook 8 to d8, Magnus does it this way. We have pawn to e3 and only now knight to e4. We have a trade of bishops, bishop captures, king captures, and now d captures on c5. Okay, Magnus very happy. He gets his knight from the rim into the game, and pawn to b4. Chases the knight away from the strong c5 square, knight e6. Maybe at some point you will be able to execute the d4. Now knight to e2, guarding that d4 square. And here we have queen to f6. So okay, it's a very good position for both of them. Can be played, not a worry in the world for either of them. Magnus having almost twice the time definitely helps, as well, pretty much no one plays as fast as Magnus. We have knight e to d4. Sorry, that's an f knight. Knight e to d4. and rook to c8. Now attacking the queen, and we have queen to b2. Now offering a trade of rooks, and Magnus trades on d4. We have knight captures on d4, knight captures on d4, and now we reach the position from the thumbnail where the funniest thing is that the engine's recommendation is you should move the king. King g8, king f8, or king to h7. So that should tell you something. That should tell you that there is some sort of an issue with the king being on this diagonal. But you know, it's very, very tricky, and Magnus doesn't see it. Will you see it? That's well, that's what we are going to find out. We have pawn to h5. Magnus doesn't see it, so he just continues playing normally, and the rook captures on c8. And you don't, you know, expect this move, because why would you break tension on the c file and allow Magnus to grab with rook captures on c8? That's exactly the point. You wouldn't, because rook captures on c8 blunders the game. You have to play bishop captures on c8, but Magnus didn't see it. He played rook captures on c8, and now we reach the position where you guys have to calculate it out. Feel free to pause the video and find a move that even the great Magnus missed while I give you a couple of seconds, and win the game for Rudik. You know, have at it. The brilliancy Magnus missed and Rudik found is, well, believe it or not, bishop captures on e4. And this is done with the idea, let me just check, yeah, he played it instantly with one, he spent a second to play it, so he of course had it prepared. Magnus ran into it, and there's nothing more to be done here. The idea is to open up the d file for the rook. You have to recapture, otherwise you're just going to be down a piece. So Magnus recaptured, and now look at this. Knight to e6 check. That's the problem with the king on g7. If the king was, you know, on any other square other than, let's say, even h8 probably. But yeah, if the king was on a square that did not allow check, it would be perfectly fine. And the reason for that is that, okay, you cannot move the king, otherwise you would just lose the queen. You cannot capture with the pawn, as you'll see why, and you cannot move the king for already said reasons. So what you would have to do is play, and the queen of course cannot capture, the queen is pinned. So f captures on e6, and now the reason why you have to play bishop captures on e4 to free up the d file for the rook. Rook to d7 check, and that's pretty much it. Now you have to move the king away from the queen. Queen captures on f6, and next you get checkmated. Maybe you can give one more check, and maybe you can give another check on g1. But of course that's not a move that Magnus would play. And next h4, taking away the g5 square from the king, and queen g7, or any other checkmate will also do just fine. But no, after d captures on e4, knight e6 check. This is where Magnus resigned, as there is of course no point in continuing the game. So brilliant game by 20-year-old international master Rudik Makarian, taking down Magnus Carlsen in such fashion. Sorry, I didn't include their ratings. Apologies for that. Let me just check. What is this? No, that's sorry, a different one. Yeah, okay. So Magnus is obviously 3316, and Rudik is 3003 on chess.com. Apologies for that. I somehow kept the ratings from the previous tournament. But yeah, I mean, Magnus almost 300 rating points, over 300 rating points higher rated than Rudik in this time format on this platform. But it doesn't matter when you spot the tactic like bishop captures on e4 followed by knight e6. It doesn't matter who your opponent is. So yeah, brilliant stuff by Rudik or Rudik. I hope you guys enjoyed that, and big congratulations if you found this bishop captures on e4 knight e6 maneuver. Not an easy one to spot. I was looking at it and I didn't want to check the engine. I saw that there was something, but I didn't find the exact maneuver. Bishop captures and knight e6. So if you have, congratulations, you are an amazing player. So that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Derek King, Charles Benjamin Flynn, Diane Schwartz, Ilya Maltsev, and Mohammed Babar Khalil for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. Really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check upon your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.